For more insight on the Constitutional Court decision, we're joined by Benedict Phiri, who is a legal analyst. Benedict, good afternoon. Thanks very much for your time. It was a unanimous decision. Should we read a lot into that?
I think, Vuyo, we should read into that it's a categorical and strong statement from the Constitutional Court insofar as the interpretation of Section 47(1)(e) is concerned, and who may be ineligible to be in Parliament if he or she has been convicted of an offence for more than 12 months and for which there is no option of a fine. I think it's a strong statement in that respect, and it's also a strong statement around the aspects whether there should be a distinction between a contempt of court conviction or an ordinary criminal court conviction, and the court saying there's no distinction for the purposes of eligibility to Parliament. So I think it's a strong statement, and we can read that the court was quite united in a strong statement of the law.
A lot of people were in fact surprised by the earlier electoral court ruling. Do you think the Constitutional Court clerk today sort of addressed, you know, the questions that that people raised following that electoral court decision?
I think so, Vuyo. It was surprising, that electoral court decision. I mean, but if you listened to the submissions that were made by MK and Mr. Zuma, it wasn't entirely surprising, because I think they made a good go of the logic behind why they thought it didn't apply to Mr. Zuma. But I think the ConCourt was quite clear in addressing all the issues. You know, they addressed the issue of bias of Mrs. Janet Love to say, you know, there couldn't have been a reasonable apprehension of bias on her part, and that was dismissed. The ConCourt addressed the issue of the conviction and the sentence. I think importantly, the issue of the effect of the remission was addressed, because I think that's where most of the confusion came about. And I think chiefly as important was the issue of the Constitutional Court justices having to recuse themselves. You know, I think, you know, all the major issues that had cropped up as a result of the electoral court judgment were dealt with quite conclusively by the Constitutional Court today.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you mentioned the cross appeal by the former president, as well as the MK party on the question of Commissioner Janet Love, that she was not biased against is not biased against the former president. You feeling that was adequately addressed as well?
Yes, and I think when Justice Theron read that part of her judgment, she utilized the words that were attributed to Commissioner Love in the newspaper report. And she said, you know, in reference to those specific words, I was glad she actually quoted them, that they were ambiguous and they could not indicate that the commission, or in fact Commissioner Love, had prejudged Mr. Zuma's candidature, or the objection that subsequently followed. And I think that was a good touch, because, you know, we could all pause for a moment and actually ponder on the actual words that were said to create this apprehension of bias, and was very clear that those words in themselves could not create a reasonable apprehension of bias. So I think the court dealt with that quite well.
Benedict Phiri, thank you very much for your time and insights. Really appreciate it.